Okay, in this lecture I'm going to show you how to manage your files in Camtasia Studio. There are two main ways to bring a file into your workspace on the desktop. The first way is to use Import Media, and when you click on this, it's going to allow you to either import screen captures, which is when you record the screen and then save it as a screen capture, or you can also import finished videos that have already been produced. If they've already been produced, they're going to look like this. It's going to have like a cover image because it's been produced and finalized, and it'll usually have something that you've named it. So in my case, this is one of my beginning videos, so I called it Camtasia Basics. These other ones, which just look like a strip of film, these are screen captures that have not been produced and finalized. So if I click on one of these, and I'm going to go to this one, it'll pull it onto this blank white space, which is called the Clipbin. And this is basically where you assemble all of your pieces that you're going to then use in your video. So I could put that clip in there, which is a screen capture that I did, and I could also add images. If I wanted to lay images in there, I could add audio files into this, and then they'll all just be sitting there ready for me to use and drag onto the timeline. So then once I'm ready to use this video, I just drag it onto the timeline here and release it, and it's there on the timeline and ready to be used. Now, one thing to note is that it always gives you this gap at the beginning. So I generally, unless I'm going to add an intro or something in there, I will drag this over to the edge, and then you'll see it pop up. So that's the first way to bring media into your workspace on Camtasia Studio. The other way, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to say File, New Project. It's going to ask me if I want to save that, and you can make your decision based on whether you've modified it and want to save it. In this case, I just was showing you that, so I don't want to save it. I'm going to click No, and then it'll just go away and leave me with a blank workspace. Now I'm going to go and bring in a project. And a project is when you've imported a bunch of different media, you've worked with it and created something on the timeline and then saved it as a project. So I can go to File, and I go to Open Project, and then you'll see these green little bits of film, and these are all projects. So any of these I could import. Let's just grab any random one. And notice, instead of just putting the file here in the Clipbin, it also opens it up in the video screen and down here on the timeline. And that's because it's already been worked on and created. You can see all the spots along this video where I've cut it and edited it. And you can even see if I make these tracks a little thinner and I zoom in a bit on this section. Zoom. You can even see that there are additional clips that I've added in during the editing on this second track. So that's why this is a project. There are all kinds of different things going on here that are all collected into one project and saved together. So then if you're working on a project like this and you want to save it, then you go to File and you do Save Project As, and then you can create a new project and save it as whatever you want it to be. And then as you're going, once you've saved it as, and so say I'm going to call this one, well, you can actually see the title here, How to Say What You Need to Say. So I would save it as that project, and then as I'm working on this project, I'd go in and click File and Save Project to save the work that I've done. Then later I can close this project out just by going to New Project, and that'll close it. And then if I want to go get that project again later to either work on it some more or to produce it as a final video, I can go to File, Open Project, and go right back to that project right here. How to Say What You Need to Say. and I click that and it'll reopen it on the timeline so I can work on it further. So those are basically the two ways to pull media into your Camtasia workspace. The first one being import media, where you can import video, audio, image files, and then once you've worked with all of those, you save them as a project. And then once you've saved a project, if you want to work on it some more, you go to this open project and it'll open the entire project. So that's how you work with files in Camtasia Studio. And then the final thing that you do once you've completed your project, of course, and we've talked about this a little bit before, is produce and share. And once you have a file open or a project open, we'll go back to this project, and you're completely finished working on that project, you go to produce and share, and then you choose how you want it produced. And it usually defaults to this MP4 with Smart Player, which I don't use. The Smart Player I just ignore, because basically Smart Player is going to produce your video and then also upload it into something like YouTube or another program, which I don't ever want to do. And those are all down here. Or you can share it directly to places like Google or YouTube. But I just use these three right here. And of these three, 480p is standard definition, so you really don't want to use that unless you have to. 1080p is very high definition, but it's a little bit higher definition than Udemy is comfortable working with, so I don't really recommend that either. I've done that in the past with some mixed results. Maybe in a few years they'll have 1080p, but for now you want to go with 720p. So you produce your video at 720p, click on that. It'll show up here. It shows you the editing dimensions, which is what you want, 1278 by 720. And then you just go click next. It's going to ask you where you want to have that saved, and it will add subfiles. I don't really like that because I like to organize them myself, so I unclick that button. Click that. Obviously this is a study skills course. I don't want it saved in there, so I'm going to navigate to my Camtasia Udemy course, and then I make sure that the file says what I want to say, how to say what you need to say, and then I click save, which I'm not going to do at this time. And then once I click save, I'll go down here and click finish, and then it will produce my video and save it into this file under this name. So those are three very important ways that you can manage your files in Camtasia.